The Democrats think they've found the speed bump they've been looking for. Of course, they're filing lawsuit after lawsuit, I think 40 lawsuits so far. And that has allowed them, because they have some judges who are finding their way, or what I'm seeing more often is just they're winning temporary restraining orders to say, you can't enforce that law until we have a full hearing on it. Like, I need it to be briefed and I need a full evidentiary hearing for me to understand what's going on. And they're like, oh, it's a huge win. We're shutting down Trump's ability to change the government. And then when Trump says, I don't think you actually do have the ability to stop me from doing this. Constitutional crisis. It's a constitutional crisis. He's not listening to the judiciary. Meanwhile, there's literally only one example of him being ordered to resume payments to federal agencies, where then the plaintiff said he didn't resume doing that fast enough. And the Trump team filed a brief saying, actually, we are making all of these payments in the following few fields. They were never affected to begin with, but we're still doing our assessments under the other fields that he wanted to see if the funding's proper on. And the judge did not say, you're in contempt. You're in huge trouble for doing that. The judge said, you got to do it. You got to resume in all of it until we have our hearing. So the judge doesn't think it's a constitution. There's literally just one case in which the judge said, you didn't quite do what I told you to do. Please do it. And the Trump administration, I think, is going to do it. They haven't said we're not going to do it. If the judge says do it and the Trump team says we refuse, then we're closer to actually having a crisis between the branches. This judge is going to get overruled. The feds are allowed, the executive branch is allowed to control a lot of how the money gets spent, whether it gets spent. They can't shut down entire agencies that are authorized by Congress, but they do have a lot of control over money and whether to spend it. And I realize that these various plaintiffs don't like that. The Democrats don't like that, but it's going to play out in the courts. And I think as I said last night, 9 out of 10 of these cases is going to go Trump's way. So we are not at a constitutional crisis yet. He has not flipped the bird to any judge telling him he must do something yet. Who has done that? Joe Biden. That actually was Joe Biden. And I don't remember these same people freaking out. But take a look at some of the coverage over, honestly, all Trump has done is issue executive orders and then gotten sued so far.
And what we are experiencing is a power grab. It is a constitutional crisis. It means wholesale harm for everyone who calls this country home. So we have to litigate. We have to legislate. We have to agitate. We have to organize peacefully in these streets.
We are witnessing is a constitutional crisis. We are seeing an executive branch that has decided that they are no longer going to abide by the Constitution.
And now these boys from DOGE roll in violation of the Constitution, in violation of the law, in flagrant violations.
And I think this is the most serious constitutional crisis the country has faced, certainly since Watergate. The president is attempting to seize control of power and for corrupt purposes. The president wants to be able to decide how and where money is spent so that he can reward his political friends, he can punish his political enemies. That is the evisceration of democracy.
Now, where were all these people when Joe Biden was trampling on the Constitution? I mean, repeatedly, but I'll give you one. After the Supreme Court blocked his, quote, student loan forgiveness program, former President Biden, at the time still in office, spoke openly about how proudly he was bypassing the high court's ruling. Watch.
We cannot let this decision be the last word. While the court can render a decision, it cannot change what America stands for. Tens of millions of people in debt were literally about to be canceled, their debts. And the Supreme Court blocked it. It blocked it. But that didn't stop me. I announced we were going to pursue alternatives. The Supreme Court blocked me from relieving student debt. But they didn't stop me. I'm relieving the burden of student debt. And the Supreme Court told me I couldn't. I found 2 other ways to do it.
That was fine. He added an amendment to the Constitution with a tweet. That was fine. Okay. And those were not the only examples of his lawlessness. He was fond of ignoring the Supreme Court. Remember his rent abatement program? That was another time, and around the high court. And we're not talking about a lower federal district court judge. Let's be clear. In the federal system, you file your lawsuit, you're at the district court level. That's the trial court. You lose there, you go up to a federal court of appeals. Now you're getting more serious. And you lose there, you go up to the U.S. Supreme Court if they'll take your case. So far, all Trump has had against him is some federal district court orders. Not a court of appeals, certainly not the Supreme Court. That's the one Joe Biden was ignoring. The Supreme Court of the United States. There was not a Democrat meltdown. Now, the Dems have had some success recently at the federal district court. Judges have temporarily blocked Trump's spending freezes. That's what I just referred to, and then ordered him to resume the spending. His executive order saying birthright citizenship is no longer going to be allowed for the children of illegals. Let me just tell you, Trump 100% knew that would be blocked. There's zero doubt he understood that was going to be blocked. He is trying to tee up an appeal that will go up to SCOTUS. He's not dumb. The lawyers advising him are not dumb. They know that that's going to go up. His buyout offer for federal employees has been paused. That's the judge who said, I need this briefed. I got to figure out what's what. Trump has every chance of still winning that case. And I actually think he will win that case either before the district judge or when it goes up in appeal. And then there's DOGE's access to the Treasury's payment system. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is saying the two people he allowed to access that were in read-only mode. They couldn't change anything, and they work for Treasury. So not all of these lawsuits are going to be successful. And even the ones that have had preliminary, we do want to take a closer look, are not success on the merits cases. Having said all that, you're not surprised to hear President Trump's not afraid of this fight.
Tremendous fraud, tremendous waste, and tremendous abuse, and theft, by the way. And the day you're not allowed to look for theft and fraud, etc., then we don't have much of a country. So no judge should frankly be allowed to make that kind of a decision. It's a disgrace.
We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point, as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a very big problem on our hands. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it does not cost you a cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Text my initials MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.